access level has recently increased. Excellent. Incoming message.
Good evening, agents, and welcome to episode 95 of Behind the Scanner. Our special guests tonight are Ollie Tronic from Seattle and Anthony Moore from Wichita. Welcome to the show. I have a question for our guests. Join us during the broadcast in our live chat room on our website, behindthescanner.com, or you can submit questions through the YouTube Q&A tool. If you know someone who would make a great guest, submit their information to us at behindthescanner.com and click on Guest Suggestions. Subscribe to our channel and watch previous recordings on YouTube. For all the latest updates and news, follow us on Google+. And now, your hosts of Behind the Scanner.
Holy cow, did Kelly just say episode 95? Pretty crazy. We're getting up there, people. But anyway, welcome everybody to another edition of Behind the Scanner, and I'm Daphne from Washington, D.C. My co-host tonight is Jorge Pedrero from Mexico City.
Hello, guys.
So I hope that those of you who got to see the roundtable earlier had a good time, and you know, kind of wonder, is this something you think we should do on the regular? You can let us know in the chat room at behindthescanner.com. In fact, Andrew, after hosting the roundtable, is now hosting the chat room. So go ahead and say hi, and of course ask viewer questions for tonight. In the meantime, we've got another great show this week. Weekly Truth, we've got David Timothy back. Welcome. And for Code of the Show again, Andrew. So if you can't get enough of them, tonight is your night. Anyway, so we've got Ollie and Anthony. We've got a couple of very interesting characters for different reasons. So Ollie Tronic and is it Nidirek? Now I'm going to start with you, Ollie. I suppose I can make the assumption that you're into techno, maybe? But seriously, what is the meaning of your agent name?
Actually, there's no meaning at all. I do like techno, that's true. But I have been using Ollie as sort of a gamer tag for the last 12 or 13 years, and I just keep putting different things on the end of it. And when I came to Ingress, Ollie Tronic, because it was kind of a techno-feeling game, I figured was okay. So that's what I came away with.
Word. And Anthony, hello. That is still Anthony Yu in there, right? You're not taking over? You might want to
Unmute.
You might want to make sure you unmute yourselves, and those of you watching, you might want to take a shot.
Okay. There, now I'm unmuted.
You're not okay. You're not taking over. You okay? You look a little
unmuted.
pallid. No, you're good. You're just looking a little pallid in there.
It's a little toasty tonight. No, my name actually is something that I've used for about 15 years. In just a second.
It's alive!
I've used that name for about 15 years in various MMOs, and it's been a gamer tag that I've used for about 15 or 20 years. Started in Dungeons and Dragons back when I played with my cousins.
Okay, great. So you pick, both of you pick that name from your early days. I guess both are playing since the beginning of 2013, something like that. It's your original name, guys?
Yeah, I started mine in April, I want to say April 19th or 20th in 2013, and I've been playing since. My fiance and both my children now play as well.
How did you find about the game, Anthony?
Me and my fiance were playing another ARG. I think it was called Zombie Wars, and the developer let us know that Google was releasing their own ARG because he was getting ready to shut his down. So we transferred over, and I started looking at Ingress and kind of got obsessed with it before I ever got my invite. And that was back when you still had to be invited by Google.
Why obsessed?
I don't know. Originally, I got it. I was looking into it because it was something that I could do with my kids during the summer, and it was someplace. I'm not from Kansas, and so it was something that I could do to figure out places to go and take the kids during the summer, and it kind of grew from there. And I fell in love with the storyline.
Okay. And what about you, Ollie?
Oh, let's see here. I found an article on Polygons, I think it was, which is kind of ironic. It's a gaming magazine. Anyhow, it said you had to get level 8 to get a founder's badge in like a couple different weeks, and I just downloaded and decided to try for this thing because you could only get it for 2 or 3 more weeks. Played for a couple, I want to say about 9 months, completely lone wolf, didn't hook up with the community at all. My partner didn't actually have a smartphone at all. So I kind of almost gave it up after those 9 months until she picked it back up again.
9 months on your own. So how was that? 9 months on your own.
It was difficult, but you know, at the time it was a casual game for me. My wife didn't have a smartphone, and we would pass by like a level 8 farm, and you know, back in the day, a level 8 farm, they weren't around very often. And we passed by and said, "Pull over the car. We gotta go farm this." She said, "I'm not pulling over for your cell phone game." And so she gets the smartphone about 9 months later, and she says, "All right, I'll install the Ingress. It's okay. Let's give it a shot." I was like, "All right, cool." And then I wake up the next morning, 6:30 in the morning, and she's nowhere in the house, nowhere to be found. She comes back in like half an hour later. It's like, "I was out ingressing." Worked out okay.
Thank goodness.
Right.
And I assume that kind of helped contribute with your involvement with the community, including a pretty epic win in Seattle a few months ago, where... Yes, exactly. Now, granted, it's been a while, but how did you first get involved with the community?
So after Pangolin started playing, we decided to get into the community a little more. And what I started doing was throwing leveling parties, just looking for any new players that we could. I'd go out in front of a Starbucks. I'd put on the goofiest Kermit the Frog hat. It had like a spy glasses and like a mustache on it. And I'd just say, "Go out there and look for the guy in the Kermit the Frog hat." And we'd just take him around the block a couple times and go have drinks. And I did that for a couple, maybe 4 months or so. And the vast majority of the people that are still around that did leveling parties with me are doing fielding with me now.
Oh, very fun. And Anthony, one of the reasons why you were nominated to be on the show is because of your own leadership in your local community. And it turns out you're also a scout leader. Does one role help you prepare for the other, or vice versa?
Fielding is a lot easier than dealing with 9 and 10-year-olds.
Okay.
I would rather deal with 200 agents in the field than 5 9 and 10-year-olds, because the agents in the field, even if they're 9 and 10, you don't normally listen better.
Okay. Sounds like a good community over there.
Oh yeah, our local community started out fairly small. I don't think there were... Initially, when I got into the game, there might have been enough of us to build a level 8 farm, and now we've expanded out just around our local region. There's probably 200 of us in local chats.
Okay, and would you say that, have there been any lessons that you were able to take, I mean, probably from scouts into Ingress?
Probably the best thing that I could say was how to communicate with people, because if you're used to communicating with children, and I'm not saying dumbing it down, but breaking it down into a way that a 9 and a 10-year-old can understand it, then it's a lot easier to break down pretty much anything, even the most complex things out there, to anybody else of any age. And agents' ages vary. My youngest plays and started at 7, so.
Well, for everyone watching the show, you can interact with us live in our chat room on our website, behindthescanner.com. Just go there and click on chat at the top, and that's it. You can interact with our guests or with our crew. And Anthony, as you kind of alluded early, sounds like you kind of created your own Ingress community. Was your recruit batch level?
Sadly, all of my recruits were done prior to the recruiter badge. And as far as the community, it's me, my fiance, both my kids. We have family and relatives scattered around the country that play. If we could all get together for a Thanksgiving dinner, we'd have a hell of an 8 farm.
Okay, so and what is this about your family throwing to the November Lima ban?
Oh yeah, that. It came up in a chat as kind of a gag gift. Everybody was joking around about throwing to Ethan Latrope at November Lima, and he happened to be in Albuquerque. One of the agents that was in the chat mentioned that he was in town, and so it wouldn't be hard for him to throw to it. So I got to looking at the map, and after about 15 minutes realized that we needed to clear maybe 5 blockers to throw from Wichita to Albuquerque. And 48 hours later, me and my family went to the edge of town and shot 5 links. The largest field was 72 MU, but 870 something kilometer links. Fun little gag.
I wonder if that is the longest sliver field that might have been thrown.
I do not know. That would be worth looking into. The smallest was 12 MU and the largest was 72 MU.
Okay. And for that many kilometers, yeah, sliver. Yeah. So Ollie, you kind of you mentioned your own recruit, at least your significant one. How did you? And what was the salesmanship like with getting her to start playing at all?
Oh, there was no salesmanship. We're not doing this. That's how it started. It was just, I'm not getting a smartphone. And then she got one and came to it on her own. She's actually even more of a leader than I am, to be honest with you, in the community. She leads the field. She does all kinds of good work. But yeah, we actually met playing nationally competitive laser tag is what we did before Ingress. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so you had like the little gamer thing in there. So yeah, it's
Totally. Yeah.
I can see that. And you guys also sometimes have a couple of special escorts that join you on occasion?
I do, although they only join us one at a time because they actually hate one another. I have 2 corgis. But they love us, and they love portals, so they get to go out on portal walks on their own, which means double the portals for us, luckily.
Okay, wait, so they hate each other?
Uh-huh.
But there's still one household, so how does that kind of get managed?
Oh, it's an intricate series of gates and counter conditioning and lots of training. It's been a real challenge. Our youngest dog is kind of derpy, let's put it that way, and has some vision problems, so she's a little aggressive towards just about anything that isn't one of us. So as long as you've got good management and good training, it's something that we're able to deal with, but they don't get to take walks with one another.
Aww.
Well, it does mean double the portals, though, so it does work out.
Okay. I've like seen the positive in there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, before we get to the second half of this show, it's time for the weekly truth, and we have today David as our Operation Essex investigator. So please welcome him. Hi, David.
Hello. So the investigation this week kind of touched on 3 different threads that run through the investigation story. Can you hear me just fine? Looks like my level's a bit low.
No, you are totally fine.
Okay, great. This is my backup mic, so sorry. So the three main threads that were touched on were kind of the traditional Ingress story that was touched on a bit, and also we went back and got another little tidbit of the story of Obsidius, and then we're going to talk about a real-world event, too, that's coming up on Saturday. So let's switch to the screen sharing here and check out what's on the Investigate Ingress page. Make sure I grab the right window here. There we go. So looking at the last week of postings here on Investigate Ingress, you know, there's one of PA Chapeau's weekly wrap-ups. Those are always a good read. If you don't have much time to keep up on the investigation but want to, that's a good place to start, is with those weekly wrap-ups. However, one of the first things we had this week was a media drop with Ezekiel Calvin trying to get back in with Nee, who is still over at Hulong. Now, Nee wasn't a simulacrum. She didn't experience the same recursion that the rest of them did. So she's kind of at the advantage in this conversation because Calvin lost his memory when he went through the recursion. And it's just kind of a basic discussion. You know, Calvin's trying to get some information from her. They're trying to discuss what happened to Oliver Linton Wolf with the recent break-in at the Acolytes compound. But not really much advancement in the story there. Now, we did have an interesting media drop that came from a portal. This clue was posted, which led people to go and hack a portal, and that portal dropped a media item, which was another piece of the story of Obsidius. Now, this is also just a little bit more backstory. This is another one of those letters from Obsidius to Marcus, and he's essentially just looking over what remains of Pompeii, what remains of the Vesuvian Magnus. You know, he says, "The world has become strange and dark. All things familiar are lost. I do not know what my place here is anymore." You know, he dedicated so much time into this quest, and it looks like it all vanished in the ruin that Mount Vesuvius caused. Yesterday, you know, he spoke to Sibella briefly, but then she vanished strangely. And then later on in the day, he spied the treacherous Syphax. Unfortunately, he also saw me, he says. "I'm going into hiding in hopes that I am better at concealing myself than he is at hunting me." So, you know, there's that conflict now. Sibella and Syphax are at odds, and Sibella's trying to hide himself. He ends with, "I do not know when we will speak again." So, who knows? The story of Obsidius may be coming to an end soon, especially if Syphax runs into him. Or, you know, it may be going on. There's still a lot that we don't know about the Vesuvian Magnus, as well as who might have survived that incident. And then the third part that we touched on this week with the investigation, Susanna Moyer received this clue that was given to her. Now, similar to the clue that came earlier this week, this clue also pointed at a portal. However, there was information to be decoded from these ones and zeros that surrounded the outline of this shape, which turned out to be a bear portal. Those ones and zeros were decoded to be a Unix timestamp, if I recall correctly, which points to this Saturday afternoon Pacific time. That, as it was decoded, came to reveal that there's going to be a special mission there in San Diego on, let's see, the UC San Diego campus. The number's decrypted to a timestamp this coming Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. Now that coincides with a presentation that Flint Dill will be giving at, I forget the name of the event that's there. Anyway, it's a convention for, if I recall correctly, people who are involved in the virtual reality and augmented reality industries. So really right down the Ingress Investigations alley. This is the type of thing that Flint has really done and helped work the investigation. So I'm eager to see what's going to happen at this mission in San Diego. I'll be watching it from afar to see what comes out of this mission. So hopefully it'll be something interesting. And I'm sure that for those on site, you know, I've seen some a recruitment flyer that was posted there on the UC San Diego campus, and so they're looking to recruit new agents. I'm sure that Flint will be talking about the investigation and the role that Ingress plays, how it's helped to pioneer augmented reality gaming, and the intertwining of the investigation in the game. So looks to be really interesting. So if you're in the area, check it out, although I'm not sure if you have to pay to attend that speech or not. But either way, the portal that the mission is supposed to be located at is in an open quad there on UC San Diego campus. So should be available to everyone. The presentation goes from 1:30 to 2:30. So not sure when exactly that mission is going to spawn. That's something that's just been decoded in the last day or two. Again, in fact, that last Investigate post that I was showing you was just posted today. So if you're in the area, check it out. And that's what's happened this week in the investigation.
And just a tip from experience, wear comfortable shoes.
Yeah, walking will be involved, I'm sure.
Well, it's a long time till San Diego. Do you have any like predictions or something like that for the next weeks? So,
As far as the next week's investigation, well,
yeah.
hopefully, you know, we've received some tips that there will be more story drops. You know, that there will be something that advances the story involved with this mission in San Diego. Hopefully, we'll also receive another bit of Obsidius's story. You know, that's been carrying on throughout the whole Obsidian anomaly and still going on through Aegis Nova. And hopefully, you know, I'm also definitely curious myself to hear what's been going on with the members of the original Niantic project. You know, they lost their memory when they went through recursion, and so they're trying to regain their footing in this world, trying to rebuild relationships, trying to, you know, just remember what happened the last 3 years. So hopefully we'll have another story drop there in this coming week.
Cool. And cool as those medals that you have there on your lapel. Can you show us what you got there? I see Interitus, Recursion.
Yeah, they're just the different anomaly pins that I've gained from going to the different sites. I've got them all. And a burn pin at the top.
Cool.
You look like a general.
Thank you, David. Yeah.
That's what they say. It's the trench coat. I wear the trench coat to all the anomalies and other Ingress-related events, so it's my thing, I guess.
It is really cool. Thank you, David.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Hopefully you are going to be here soon, but soon is going to be here the codes of the show. Here we have Andrew Krug to
guys, what's up?
To share some of those codes with a lot of items on it.
Hopefully, no pressure, right? We don't know what's going to happen this week. So, all
right.
Let's see what happens. These are limited redeemable but shareable codes. Like magic. They might be good for 200, they might be good for 500, they might be good for 10 redemptions. We're not really sure. And they may have level 1 XMPs, or they may have Lost and Power Cubes, and I don't know, discount code for going on a train to an anomaly. Who knows what they hold? We're not really sure. That's the point. We don't know. So we'll leave those up for a little bit while you redeem it. For those of you in the chat room,
tell us, how was
exactly.
the round table?
Round table was a lot of fun. We had 4 guests. We had Kosh the Ripper, we had Dan No Reg from XFCC, we had Kevin Hagen, and we had Mo Hughes. Mo Hughes, Michael Anderson from out David's Way. A lot of fun. We said some things and made some jokes we probably shouldn't have live on the air, but that's okay. And just batted around some things like the XM drought and Oliver Linton Wolf and what's going to happen and the Shield and who's going to the anomaly and lots of good stuff. So I think it was a success.
So for those of us who missed it because we were, prepping for this show, will we be able to watch it later on the YouTube channel?
Yes, it should already be uploaded automatically. I don't think we're going to edit anything out, so you can comment on all the fun stuff that we did and said. Like I said, we're going to try to do this maybe every couple of weeks. I don't know that we have the bandwidth to try to do it every week, but yeah, 30 minutes maybe leading up to or maybe after this Behind the Scanner. We'll have folks on and just kind of chew the fat on the issues of the day and what's maybe going on in the investigation or what's going on in the scanner and the updates or how magnificent my beard looks, whatever comes to mind. So.
Or how about colors of towels? I think did that topic come
Towels, up? Yes, towels too. So, all right, guys, I appreciate you letting me come in and bogart your show, but if you haven't got those codes, they're gone.
Bye.
Adios.
Thank you for being with us. Share those codes, and it's time for you, Daphne.
Yes, it is. Let's go back to our guests. Ollie, you and I actually have something in common. Now I live in Washington, D.C., I was actually a longtime resident in the other Washington, Seattle, in fact, and like most Seattle residents, we are both refugees from California. Where in Cali are you actually from, and how did you end up in Seattle? Was it the real estate prices?
No, actually it was school. I grew up in San Diego. I was there until I was 28, and then I went to Humboldt State University to finish off a degree. Yeah.
How long did that take?
Just 2 years, but the community college beforehand took about 8. So there was some time, yeah. But no, I got my stuff together, finished a degree, and then I came up here to Seattle for my graduate degree. I've got a master's in geography. I study digital geography and mapping technologies, go figure. And I'm in the middle of a PhD right now.
Fantastic. Very impressive. Yeah, do you mind sharing where you go to school?
No, not at all. University of Washington here in Seattle.
Yeah, never heard of that, and not a big school, and not a well-known school for its programs at all. In any case, so Anthony, talking about growing up a little bit, you had this motto you mentioned, if you can't be good, be good at it.
Yeah, my mom may have set me up to be a troll at an early age.
So you took it to mean to be a troll?
Well, I took it to mean that if I was going to do something to be the best at it I could be, even if it wasn't something necessarily the best that it should be. So if I'm going to go out and I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to get into as much trouble as I can and do the damnedest I can to get away with it.
So share an example of how you've gotten better than you thought you might have.
Not sure what the statute of limitations is on some of those. I don't know. I mean, even when I'm out and when I broke my arm a couple years ago, I was actually breaking my arm going to do something good, jumping a fence to go help put out a house fire. Firework hit the side of a house, and I jumped a privacy fence to go put out the house fire, only I landed on tomato baskets that were rolled up. And don't know if you know this, tomato baskets work as a springboard when you land on them. Catapulted me back up into the air, and I landed on my left arm, and it flipped back and smacked me in the back of my shoulder. It's not supposed to bend that way. So I broke my elbow and figure if I'm going to do something, do it right.
Or really
Really
do
wrong.
it. Yes, okay.
Okay, and well, let's go back to Ingress. Anthony, what would you say you are particularly good at in Ingress?
Making connections, be it people or portals. I generally know somebody somewhere thanks to being in BRN, and I can find somebody wherever. When my local guys go out of town and they're traveling, then I normally have them hooked up with the local Ingress for wherever they're headed, if they choose to be, before they leave town. So just making connections.
Okay, cool. That is really important in this game, and well, you are like a burn person, so this is really cool. How about you, Ollie? What do you specialize in for Ingress?
So my in-game stats are horrible. I think I probably own about 7 portals right now. However, I did go through about 4 hours of meetings last night. So most of my gameplay right now is out of the scanner. It's either looking at intel or looking at a chat room, doing some sort of kind of organizational work. But I always make time for a good bar farm, my friend. You always need to find the bar.
Amen. Yeah, as you slightly alluded to, but I've seen your pictures and I've heard your name and involved in some pretty big ops. So, can you share with us one of your fun stories from one of them?
Yeah, I've got a ton, to be honest with you, but so many of them I can't share here. My favorite, though, so we're doing a triangle. It's kind of big, not that huge. Most of Washington, no big deal. But the anchor is at a park. We've never been there before, and I get this call over Zello from my boy Triangulator, and he's like, "We have a problem." I'm like, "What's the problem, man?" He's like, "There's a bear." I'm like, "What do you mean there's a bear?" "There's a bear, and I'm pretty sure it's a mama bear, and it's on the anchor." I'm like, no, you can't be telling me this. "She has a cub." I'm like, okay. So we sit there and we wait there, and checks coming down real quick, and we're waiting and we're waiting, and we're about 15 minutes out. I'm like, "Triangulator, what's going on with that bear, man?" And he says, "The bear is pooping on the portal." The bear leaves 5 minutes later. Both cubs are gone. We get out there, throw all the layers, do the thing, make check. It was beautiful and everything, but I will never forget the moment that the bear was pooping on the anchor.
So, resistance. If you need to recruit some good blockers, bears with cubs apparently are can help delay an op. That's awesome. How about a time when I was going to say, when you overcame a big obstacle, because I think every big op has at least one. That's a pretty good one, though. That's an obstacle I don't think anyone else, maybe some of the Alaska agents, has had to face. But, yeah, the bear, that's a good one.
Thankfully, it wasn't me, though.
How about you, Anthony? You've executed your own fair share of ops. You got any similar types of stories to share?
No, we don't get too many bears here in Kansas. The occasional wildfire, but not too many bears. I think the most excitement I have is driving for hours with the kids. We don't throw fields that often as a family. Usually I'm behind the computer because piling 4 people into the car and then driving 2 to 4 hours tends to get a little tedious, and by the time you get to the anchor, you're on everybody's nerves, especially when 2 of them are, under the age of 15. And they're brothers, so that leads to fist fights in the back of the car. So I guess Enlightened should recruit younger brothers.
Noted.
Well, if you have younger brothers or you are watching just alone the show, remember you can submit questions for our guest that we'll be asking in a few minutes. If you are watching us via YouTube, you have to click in the banner at the bottom of the video that says "Be part of the conversation." From there, just click the square grid menu icon in the upper right and select Q&A and ask whatever you want. Well, you witnessed all sort of changes over the years with Ingress. Think back those days when you had to grab exam uphill both ways. What's one of your favorite improvements in the scanner in the game? Anthony, please. Let's
For
go
me,
for
it's got to be the tracking on walking. Back when we first started, the tracking stats for walking were horrible, and they've made a lot of improvements over the years, and now it keeps up with me when I'm riding my bike as long as I'm with the kids. When I'm solo, I tend to ride too fast for it to track and count for trucker, but when I'm riding with the kids, it actually keeps pace with me now.
Cool. And what about you, Ollie? What do you think?
I've got to say capsules are my favorite. I love capsules, and I love key capsules, and I also love the add everything to a capsule button that they just installed. Everything having to do with capsules is wonderful. It makes my life easy.
How would you improve capsules?
Oh, that's a toughie. Well, first of all, I would love to recharge from a capsule. That would be pretty cool. Second of all, if I could... I wish I could group keys within capsules to take them out by grouping. Usually I just use multiple capsules for that, but like, I don't know, if I could have a capsule database or something, get crazy with it, something like that.
What about naming capsules?
Naming capsules would be cool. I know what I'd name mine.
What would you name yours?
Fido.
Okay. Fido 1, Fido 2, Fido 3.
No, just Fido.
Okay.
All of them.
You know what? I would, yeah. I was gonna say I had a plant that was supposed to be like a money plant, and I named it FICA because FICA always gets of your money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, since these are interest-bearing capsules, FICA, like so that they take more and grow more. I guess I don't know. Anyway, so while we're talking about changes in game mechanics, now, I mean, yes, and we all want the spoofers, but what other changes would you like to see? Not just about capsules, Ollie.
Spoofers. Oh, wait, not about spoofers, right. Okay, so the number one thing that I think is missing in this game is most games actually have a tutorial that builds you along towards the scoring mechanisms and teaches you how to employ those scoring mechanisms. Our badges, our scoreboards, our leaderboards have absolutely nothing to do with checkpoint, and I would actually love it if the Mew counted for the badges, the leaderboards across the way were all standardized across the checkpoint mechanism so that you couldn't get Mew to count for Illuminator unless it was for check. Because that's really the only time it goes up on the scoreboard, and it feels kind of disingenuous to have this thing where we're like, well, if you threw triangles, you'll get something. Put it up on the scoreboard or go home.
All right. And you, Anthony, what would you like to see changed?
I kind of like what Ollie was saying, but at the same time, you have casual players who don't always get a chance. I mean, you know, sometimes you're at work and you got to put up when you can put up. You can't always go out in the middle of the night and throw huge fields. I know my largest field is 54K. Most of my stuff's in the neighborhood. But as far as improvements, I don't know. We've got a pretty solid game. I mean, there's little tweaks that we could make here and there, but as far as items and things in game, I can't really think of anything. I think we finally got to where we're nice and solid. The key lockers was probably the last thing that I really wanted.
Cool. So you are very, very happy with Ingress right now. But, well, not just about the game, but for some personal reflection, what is one thing you learn about yourself from playing Ingress that maybe you didn't know before that, or maybe you knew, but was not something that you put attention on that? Let's go for Ollie first.
I think the biggest learning period for me was when I did the point of contact work for the Seattle anomaly in Obsidian. I have never, ever organized something for 1,000 people before. I'd never organized something that ran through $15,000 worth of money changing hands before. I've never done any sort of project management before. And all of a sudden, I'm organizing a really, really big machine, right? And two different machines, right? There's the wedding machine, which is you got to get the hotel block, the presents, the after party afterwards, and then you've got the other part of the machine, which is all the strategy and what you've got to do to actually move your operators forward, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, I've never done anything on that scale, and I'm in the middle of writing a dissertation, and that was I had no idea that I could even participate in that, even with as much amazing help as I had across the board. My planning committee was awesome.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, and well, it's awesome if you have a good team. You really have the chance to delegate and everything and see how works that machine. It's very interesting. And what about you, Anthony?
Probably that my how to put it nicely about myself. I can be a little bit meticulous about things, and with Ingress, it's something that I can be meticulous about something for a decent reason instead of just being kind of obsessive about random things. I tend to get very obsessive about learning how to do something. If I get interested in it, then I want to know how to do everything, and I want to learn every aspect of it. I've been that way with every game that I've ever played. I always want to find the little tricks to level up faster, or the little tricks to make my score better, just things like that. And with Ingress, it's something that I can apply that meticulousness to help others when they're doing stuff.
And, well, not so meticulous, but we do have some viewer questions. Are you guys ready to take them on?
Let's do it.
All right.
Sure, why not?
Especially since he was on the round table earlier, we'll give a little special priority to Koch the Ripper. It's actually not about towels. I guess he got that discussion out earlier. But if he wants to know if you could make a mod, what kind of mod would it be? And I'm going to start with you, Anthony.
The only thing that I could think of would be a mod that altered the payout so that you could have your it'd be a variation on the multi-hacks, and it would shift your hacks to where you were getting more bursters or more resonators, because we've all noticed that there tends to be burster days and resonator days and power cube days. Anybody that farms has noticed that, and it'd be nice to know which day you were going to have.
You know, there's so many different theories. I mean, I've heard the theory that it depends on your icon on the scanner, or I don't know.
I don't have time to test that.
Yeah, exactly. All right, how about you, Ollie? Your mod.
I think first and foremost, I'd probably fix the turrets. Basically, we're missing a second weapon that does something, and if we replace the turrets with turrets that work, or if we replace the turrets with, I don't know, laser guns, phase bombs, I don't care what we call it, but if I could get a second weapon on there that does something, I'd be pretty stoked.
All right. All right, Mr. Moore. With small children and the internet, have you found Ingress to be different through its augmented reality aspect?
Yes and no. And Ingress as a community, I know that a lot of times I've had cases where my kids, we went to the drive-in. We have a drive-in here locally in Wichita, which is one of the few things that I care about and really support a lot of here in Wichita. And we'll leave the drive-in and we'll hit a portal, and I had somebody yell and go off on my kid in comms, and they were cursing, at my children in comms. They, at the time, didn't realize that it was a child. They were new to the game, fresh off Xbox, didn't have a clue. Now, I don't have anything against Xbox. I got one myself. But they brought that mentality to Ingress. And that was one thing that I give the community credit for at the time, is our local community leaders from both sides stepped up and told him that he needed to pay attention and that it was an augmented reality game, which meant that he would at some point in time run into other players, and that there were kids that were playing the game and that were in comms. And even though my kids don't read comms, there's still a chance that because they were tagged that they might see it, and asked him or her to be a little more cautious how they worked and what they said in comms.
I like that a lot. I might use that actually. So, things you learn every night. Okay, so Mr. Ollie, nationally competitive laser tag. What the bleep? That's a thing. How does teamwork from laser tag impact? Sorry, the questions. Okay. How does laser tag impact or complement Ingress play?
Wow, that's a tough one. I used to be a lot less heavy when I was playing laser tag. We'll start with that. So a lot of it doesn't actually carry through, but the major thing that does actually is really strong lines of communication. So when you're playing laser tag, you're actually constantly shouting at one another about the status of this thing is coming up, that guy's shoulders are down, blah, 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 blah. And the same thing happens in Ingress if you're doing it right. You're communicating back and forth about what portals are going up, what needs to come down, what links need to be thrown, et cetera, et cetera. So that sort of real-time communication in a really fast way is something that's carried through for us.
Yeah, all right. And for both of you, the significant others are always good to get playing, and you both succeeded in this regard. Any tips for agents out there looking for an Ingress lover or partner?
For me, mine thought that I was crazy, because part of that probably has to do with the fact that I got my invite the day that we went to a large Boy Scout encampment out of town, and I'm walking around on my phone trying to find portals, and back then there weren't very many, so I'm like, there's a portal over here, we need to take a detour. And for 2 months she didn't have an invite because it was invite only. And so once I finally got her invite, she, being a gamer as well, got it. She got the bug. The easiest thing I can say is to find something that they're interested in. If they're interested in art, let them know that, hey, this game takes you to places where there's art around town. If they're interested in history, it takes you to historical monuments. If they have an interest in different religions, takes you to places of religion. I mean, find something that's going to set the hook for them individually. Don't look for a blanket solution. Everybody's going to be different.
That's a great tip. Ollie, can you top that?
I don't know, but I'll be honest with you. As far as it happened with us, Pongolin's her own person. I let her make her own decisions, and there's no magic bullet that I used to convince her. She saw that I was having a good time, and she joined up as soon as it started, or as soon as she was able to when the smartphone came in. I'm not sure that I had much salesmanship to do with it, and I honestly think it's, instead of trying to sell someone on it or convince someone to do something, you have to respect people for their own individuality, particularly when you're looking for a partner.
You know what? I think you did. you did. No, really great advice, guys. Absolutely. So, also for both of you, oh yeah, someone did actually had to ask about the towel. And how useful have you found towels to be at anomalies? We'll start with you, Ollie.
I think I mopped up a spilled gin and tonic once in a hotel room.
Okay. Very good use. And Anthony?
Sorry, what was the question?
Towels and anomalies.
Actually, I've only been able to be on site for one anomaly, so for the most part, towels here are for showering before the anomaly or after the anomaly, because I'm going to definitely need one, because I normally sit on the computer for about 8 hours going, what the hell's going on?
All right. For Ollie, geology. Any ties between Ingress and your scholarly career?
So geology is the study of rocks. Geography is the study of place. But lots of people do that. Don't worry about it. Actually, there's tons of ties because what I actually study is basically handheld GPS technology and how it interacts with us socially and as a society. So basically everything I study has to do with Ingress. Unfortunately, Ingress came out 2 years too late for me to incorporate it in any of my work. But it would have been perfect. I would have loved it.
All right. Ariel Diana asks both of you, if you had to incorporate one game that is not an ARG with Ingress to create a new game, what game would that be? And Ollie, we'll stick with you.
Wow. That was left field. All right, so if I was going to incorporate anything with Ingress, and it's a computer game, is that right?
Or
Was it specified?
No, it did not specify, but yeah, feel free
Tetris.
Totally.
I'm joking.
You know what I would actually like? I would like... no, that would be totally creepy because a tag mechanism would not work in Ingress. That would be totally cool, but also not right. Darn, I really don't know what you incorporate with Ingress. It's so unique on its own.
No, it's something like Pokemon or something.
Yeah, Pokemon. That's a safe answer, right? Yeah.
Yes. All right. How about you, Anthony?
Me and my fiance used to play a game called Dark Ages of Camelot, and a lot of people are going to like this because it had 3 factions. And the factions helped to self-balance each other. If one got out of control, then the other 2 could team up. And so it was a self-balancing mechanism that was built into the game from the start. And that's something that I could see having that merged into an ARG, the 3rd faction.
Interesting.
Sounds really, really good. And well, now it's time for our BDS tradition. For better or worse, we give every guest the opportunity to talk about whatever they want for 60 seconds. So, why don't you start, Ollie?
All right, cool. Someone time me. First of all, I want to encourage every single enlightened person to get themselves either to Brooklyn or San Diego. Seattle is coming to both of those locations. We're looking for more help. Those people are looking for more help. Come help us win anomalies. Second of all, shout out to my Wu-Tang clan, especially from the Pacific Northwest. Shout out to Night Owl for putting all this swag together and putting together our Obsidian swag. And shout out to Seattle Enlightened for always being as awesome as you are. Green skies forever, folks.
Okay. So now it's your time, Anthony.
Well, earlier I mentioned... Oh, the camera went sideways. Earlier I mentioned that back in the early days, my community was very notorious about policing our own and keeping everybody under control. Lately, that's actually gotten out of hand again in my community, and I'm sure in a lot of other communities. I've seen it in comms when I've been out. This is a game, and we need to remember that it's a game. We need to remember that children play the game. We need to remember that we all live in the same cities, the same states. At some point in time, playing this game over a duration, you will run into the people that you're trash-talking in-game. Keep it game-related. There's no need to try and make it personal. There's no need to drag people's children into it. Yes, my children play, but they shouldn't be used as a soft point to come after me or another agent. Try to keep it respectful to an extent. Other than that, This shirt, the Pew Pew Life, came from a friend of mine. I didn't ask her if she wanted me to mention her on air, so I'm going to let her mention herself in the chat. I'm sure she's over there somewhere hiding out. And BRN coin check.
Yeah.
Wow, some really great wisdom, you guys. Thank you both so much for being here tonight. Yeah, I've really learned a lot from both of you, so thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Did you learn how to get into any more trouble, though?
You've inspired me to, you know what? I can get into trouble, but I can also be really good at getting myself out. So I'm going to be better at doing that.
Who said the thing about the turrets or forceps?
That was me, yeah. I need more turrets. Something other than a turret. Fix the turrets, Andrew.
Now that'll be the codes for next week.
Yeah, Ollie, if they fix the turrets, I'm telling you, you're gonna get hate mail from my local